Hello and welcome to Top of the World. I'm Simon. Today we're going to remove 3 large birch, all of which are between, up against, next to, and certainly within touching distance of some really delicate old buildings. The one behind me is the first, and then we'll do one in between, and then we'll do one that's the biggest of them all within crushing distance of the barn. That's the easiest road closure I've ever done, without wanting to hark back to my past. To close the road in central London used to take 8 to 12 weeks of planning. and so much money. And yeah, so I've had that road here closed for 37 minutes and nothing came down, and now the odd moose. Yesterday there was one car and it just went in one direction, which is a bit weird. Anyway, that's that one down, and we're gonna have a cup of coffee and clear up the mess. And then we've got a big one to take down between these two buildings, and then that one over there. That's probably the worst, because this tree can only hit one building, that tree can only hit two buildings, this can hit four. Anyway, be fine. So because that tree was split, you actually get surprisingly less out of it than a tree like that that goes all the way up. So that's all that came out of that, other than the smalls. But I was very concerned about this, you know, where it splits. I'm going to show you the stump now. Actually, it didn't penetrate anywhere near as far as I thought it might. But that was really it. It was quite a messy tree, really. And if we go and check out the stump, there. Oh, this is it here. Really didn't penetrate very far at all, and there was plenty of good wood, so my concerns were not really founded at all. And I cut into that a bit more to try and get it go exactly where I wanted it to. Still took a bit of wedging though. And there's a stump. I haven't taken the time to counter up yet, but anyway, nice. Tops are all cleared away, pile of smalls. Right, and now then, that leads us on to number 2. perfect. Perfect, perfect. What a beautiful tree. And she fully cooperated. Totally. So there's an original, the oldest cabin, I think. Then there's the cabin we've just moved, right, which is as old, could be older, about the same age. Then there's that. Right, so I had to go that way, and I had a marker stick, or there's a marker stick in between, dead between the two trees. She's nicely balanced and evenly weighted. So there's my cut, and I had to just persuade her over with the wedges. And then if we don't walk down there and trip ourselves over, if we go round, there's me tops mountain growing. There's the marker post. There you go. Nice. Didn't even snap the post. Nice light landing. Dead between all the trees and the buildings. Nice, real nice. Okay, I've got the tractor warming up because once we've got this on, we're doing a road run back to the yard. Right, that's that one cleared away, number 2. So number 3. Number 3's been a contentious issue. I made it contentious. Anyway, so we've got this building behind me. This small building there, the forest wagon and the barn, and then this beautiful tree here. We didn't actually see it was doing any harm, and because I like the tree so much, there are 4 generations involved in this property. The youngest generation isn't old enough to say their name. So, initially, it was requested that tree come out of it. Well, I liked the tree. I didn't want to take it, so I said no. I said, just leave it there and think about it for another year or 2, or year, anyway. Anyway, then this morning, the eldest generation said, take it down. No, yesterday, take it down. All right, I'll take it down. I don't want to take it down. Not because I don't want to take it down, because I like the tree. And then today, the eldest generation consulted with the generation I've been dealing with, and they said no, leave it. And overall, I think that's the right decision for now, because it's just, I'll show you, it's just a beautiful tree. And it's not really doing any harm, whilst it is big, and I can see that big trees around buildings, you know, people don't like doing that. I don't know why. Anyway, it's just not doing any harm, and it's just a beautiful tree. Look at that. So it stays, and for now that's the right decision, because I just don't, it's right in the middle. It's like a focal point of all the buildings. So if I do a complete all the way round, right, we'll see that it is dead in the centre of everything. And you know, there's more buildings over here, so let's just leave it. That's my thoughts on that. Okay, now we've got a maple, would you believe? A scrabbly old maple. Let's go and have a look at that. Oh, I'm getting attacked by wasps. Okay, this is very rare to see a tree like this here, and it's just a mess. And I have no idea how it's going to go or what I'm supposed to do with it. Let's go on the right side of the sun. Ah, dear. Anyway, I just need to drop it really. It's not this very big, it's just hanging over some delicate plants. And I've got to leave one of the limbs. So we'll cut it a bit. This is more gardening than anything else. That's the limb that's got to stay, and this lot has got to come out. So let's cut at it and see what happens. See how many more times we can get stung. Well, we haven't got stung yet, actually. See how many more times we can get dive bombed by the wasps. I'm on the old airfield. So we managed to cut down 2 of the big birches that had to be cut. The third one decision was I knew it was the wrong decision to take it down. Anyway, so there is one other thing I need to address. And I've been away for a few days. What did I say about after doing that last roof? No more roofs, no more roofs, no more roofs. Anyway, I was at the yard on Monday when my friend called me and he says, I need to come and speak to you. Okay. So anyway, he was there within a few minutes and we did the normal pleasantries, and then he said, we've promised a woman to do a roof. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I said, what kind of roof? Anyway, he opens up his phone and shows me a very small picture of what he called a garage. So I'm like, well, okay, then that's little job, quick job. I looked at that. I said, what, we do that in a day? No, he says 4 days. Well, I'm thinking, oh, right, he wants to string the job out. Okay, well, it's a paying job. All I've got to do is put my tools and me in his vehicle, go to site, work, and come home, right? For a couple of days. No problem. I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Reluctantly, because I don't want to do any more roofs. Especially this time of the year, because it's wet most of the day. Anyway, so Tuesday morning he turns up, I jumps in his car and off we goes to site, and we're a good hour and a half away. We arrive at site. Yeah, it was a very small picture of quite a large building. No, that was you Wally. No, he's just snapped a twig and now he's looking around to see what made the noise. Anyway. So, tractor behind me. Yeah, you could call it a garage. What would I call it? You could park something very big in it, and something quite small you could drive in it and turn around. Anyway, I just took a deep breath, and then he's telling me about all this equipment that's going to arrive on site. No, none of it did. Ladders, you know, and a loader. Anyway, so 4 hard days later, we get the old roof off and the new roof on. So here we are, Saturday morning, and I'm going to show you what I've got to do today. Okay, so the cabin is through there. That's the cabin we just closed up for winter, and this is where all the materials were laid down. Well, we had 2 weird storms this year. The first storm, I think, was March, because there was still snow on there, or was there? The snow was going. We had a funny winter. Anyway, it took the top of one of these trees out, that tree to be precise, and left one of the tops on it. And then we had another storm, early June, and it completely destroyed the top of that tree. Gone. It just has a few side branches. Well, the sad part about that is is that ain't a young tree. So I'm not only sure, I'm positive that would have been there during the use of this World War II runway. Right? Might have been there for the First World War, but it was definitely there. So that tree has seen the Swedish, American and British bombers landing and taking off. Yeah, we're in Sweden. Yeah, Sweden's neutral though, Simon. It wasn't in the war, really. Is that right? This runway saw Swedish, American and British bombers and planes landing and taking off. Stretches for miles in that direction and stretches for miles in that direction. Anyway, 2 years ago they ripped it up and returned all the land back to the landowners. And these are the big gravel piles of the runway they ripped up. So what I'm saying is it's big and it's old and it's a beautiful tree. Did have a split at the top which would have been caused by moose when it was just a tiny baby, and those tops that came out of there were a good 40 feet. So, and this is just some of the small tops. The big fire that we had is right there. So I'm going to take this down because this big tree is going to replace the new wood that I put in that cabin. Right, that's the kind of deal we've got here. Now, for Sweden, that is a big pine. For everywhere else in the world, not so big, but still big. So I want to bring it down, and I'm going to cut it into 4 metre lengths, not 6 metre, because my crane behind me there won't pick up 6. Also, I know what it's going to be making. So 4 metres, what's that in feet? 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 feet. So my plan is to pick up this pile of tops here and put it there to give it a bit of a softer landing, because I don't want it to shake when it hits the floor. Now at the moment, because this has just happened, right, it is in prime condition. There are no holes in this, none. And that means the bark beetle doesn't know it's going to be sick. In fact, I doubt it knows it's going to be sick itself. But next spring, after the winter, it will know it's sick. Right, and at that point, the bark beetle will descend on this like wasps to a honey hive, to a beehive. So it's got a hard backward lean, so we've got to wedge it. So I hope I've got enough wedges with me. It's got a very hard backward lean, and I need it to go that way. So it's leaning back towards us at quite some angle. So we're going to move these tops, put them over there, and then we're going to cut this, land that down there, cut it into 15-foot sections, lift it onto the back of that. Have you got the tractor and the van here, Simon? Well, I drove the van here. The tractor's been here all week. It's never left site. So that is our plan. Cut that down, be respectful and really gentle with it, because it's a prime piece of wood and I need to get all the wood back out of it that I put into this cabin. So we did the obviously the barge boards, the soffits, the decking, all of that should equal to that or something close anyway. So we don't want to leave it there and it get destroyed, and it can't stay there, it won't survive with whatever it's got. 6 live branches at the top. It won't survive and rot will set into it. So we're going to take it while it's prime. The sun's shining and the sky is blue. It should be way below freezing at this time of year. It is not, but it is a nice day, and it has been a nice week. There's been no rain. The first or second day on the job, on this big roof job, you know, when we got to put the plastic on, it's kind of, the wind was waiting behind the trees. Oh, and the wind blew and blew. So it's been a really hard week. But anyway, I've recovered quite well, considering I was struggling walking yesterday. I've recovered quite well enough to be able to do that, providing I ain't got to lift it. So let's set up and go for it. we're stood right behind the pile, so you can see that tree's got a sideways lean and a backwards lean. Anyway, we can make that go where we want, and that's got to come this way and land on top of this pile, and that will take out any risk of a shake that I might get, or shakes within the tree. And that is a fracturing of the fibres. So we've got the sun that way. I'm going to have to put you over here because it's the best chance of me there, so you can see what I'm doing, where it's going to land and not get hit by the sun. Okay, so I missed my mark. I knew I was going to miss my mark when I did the first cut. I'm going to show you what I did wrong, and I did it wrong. And I should have done a complete new cut, but I'd gone in too deep on my first cut. So there you are. Now I opted not to recut because I knew it wasn't critical, and what I could have done is picked up that pile and moved it a few feet there, but I didn't. I just let it go. So what did I do wrong? My first cut, the tree, you get a better look at it there. So this was in there like that. And what I should have done is cut this square so that I could see the complete face of the tree, and I didn't. So my first cut in like this was wrong. It was off the mark. So if we're standing square like that, that's where the tree fell. Should have been like that. So what I tried to do was cut in further here and then recut the wedge. Anyway, I realised I didn't, and then that wasn't the only mistake I made. The second mistake I made was when I was cutting in the back and I'd got the wedges in the back. I then cut through my hinge there, knowing that I had just left a little bit of meat there, which didn't worry me because the lean was this way. If that had been the other way round, right at that point, I could easily have lost the tree that way. Real easy. So That's why I decided not to cut anymore and just to wedge it over. But it's down. There was nothing critical at this point, but had I had made that cut wrong and we'd been between two buildings, I'd have come a foot up and I'd completely recut again. I'd have just left that and sorted that out afterwards and then recut a different angle. But anyway, it wasn't critical, but I still missed my mark, which is a shame because I like to hit my mark every time. Anyway, there we go. She's quite a specimen, but there's no holes in it. But we will be able to see now at the top where we wouldn't have gone with it. So this is the mess at the top here and the split where it lost its upper half. This was one side where the top came out, and this was the other side. You know, that's kind of interesting. That is. Look at that. That's sheared straight across its grain. It's going to be really fascinating to look at that once I've got it, because it looks like it's been cut. It hasn't, of course. Right, there she is. We'll clean these limbs off. It's quite nice size limbs. Make some good fire with that. And then we'll cut her into shorter lengths and see if we can't lift it on. It's going to be a strain, whatever I do. Anyway, yeah, I'm gutted I missed my mark, but there we go. We have to be aware of that top section now and debark it so we dig all the small stones out. Right, well, that's the first time I've been off my mark in a long time. Good job it weren't critical, eh? Well, like I say, if it was, I'd have just come up a foot and recut. That had been critical and I would have taken the hit on the stump. But you can clearly see when I went in with my first cut, that's where I made my mistake, because I couldn't see. Would you have made that mistake with a longer bar? No, absolutely not. That's a 22-inch bar. I really needed a 28-inch bar for that. It's very difficult to make a mistake like that when you've got a bar that goes all the way through. But when you're cutting from both sides, my error. I should have checked and rechecked. So you can see where I knew I'd made a mistake and I tried to correct it. And maybe where I tried to correct it, see, this was my first cut in, where I tried to correct it would have been all right if I'd not cut through that, because I'd have had my hinge all the way across. But I cut into that, so that was that. There we go. Error by Simon. There you go. That will show you a much better picture of how I went so badly wrong. So, yeah, not good. But it's so dry, I can tell that the level of sap through this year has been minimal. Yeah, that you don't want to leave a hinge like that on something this size. Fortunately, it wasn't a full tree, because if it was a full tree, I could have lost control of that. Anyway, I didn't, and it just didn't hit its mark by, I don't know, 10 feet. Been the difference between a building and a not if you'd been in a closer environment. So when you do that, if you do a cut and you know you're wrong and it's critical, right, just move up, do it again. But you have to move up significantly that what's below doesn't affect what's up. But if you're doing it in a commercial environment, well, you ain't gonna have your job very long. That's what I know. And if you're doing it in an environment where there's buildings, you better have some good insurance. Right. Okay, let's get this delimbed and then we'll cut her into sections and load her up. So I've cleared up all the tops and put them over on the fire. Now the big fire we had the other day, that's not the first one. I've had one since then because it was still hot at the bottom, and now we've got a third pile of tops. Anyway, this property is large, to say the least. It's a large property and it has lots of roads and tracks and stuff on it. Down by the main road, the owner pointed out to me that these logs have appeared from somewhere. I got a feeling they're going to be telegraph poles, but I don't know. Anyway, they've just been dumped by the side of the road. They've been there a while. So just before I load these up, we're just going to take a little trip in the tractor with a chainsaw and just go and see what they are and see if we can't pick them up as well. Something else that needs to be moved. Right, so let's go and do that and then see what they are and see if we can't pick them up. If they're no use, they're no use, but we'll see what they are. Beautiful trees. We're much further down the runway now. I'm sure I've shown this before. The runway goes a long way that way and all the way that way. What was the runway? I think we need to be on the other side of the railway line. Sure, it's right by the entrance of the main road there. Somewhere down here. I'm sure this. Oh yeah, there. Right. Let's see what these are. They've been there a while, that much I can tell you. Yeah, these look like posts. I don't know why they're here, but they've been dropped here a long time and the owner wants them gone. So that's actually in the ditch down there, which is really bad. I think that's all of them. So this is the other job that needs doing. I'm hoping not to have to do this. This is the main road. Every single tree all the way down there has to be taken out 23 metres back from the road. All the way. Everything needs to go for new power lines. Anyway, water's running well, that's good. Right, let's grab these out of here then. I don't know if they're going to be any good for anything. Well, they will be, if nothing else, for ground bearers for the logs, but they can't be there. So we need to have them out of there. Looks like they're big, we'd probably have to cut them. Cut them all in half. We don't need any poles that long, but we can use them in the yard for sure. They ain't no good for firewood because they'll be impregnated. Yeah, you can see all the claw marks. They're the old telephone posts. We don't have, they've taken away all our telephone lines. We have no overhead lines at all now. We have no telephones. Right, so that's that. So if you want to use a telephone, you're either internet or mobile. Right, let's pick these up out of the way. soon as I started to move them, you can smell the creosote, you know, the treatment in them. Anyway, they're better on there than they were on the ground. That's what I know, and that makes it, you know, when you've got the equipment, it makes it easy. Otherwise, you'll have to come down here and cut these up into small sections, and you can't burn them. So, right, we'll find a use for those somewhere, for something. No idea how I'm going to pick up the base section, but I do know I can't cut it because I'd be doing myself a huge injustice, so we're going to have to wiggle it up like that one. And then the tractor's flat out, absolutely full bore on the PTO. And just ain't got enough oomph, but we can MacGyver it somehow. That is a heavy load. So after all the years that beautiful tree's been growing there, I never counted the rings. She's going to go to replace all the stuff we put in the cabin. So the tree that's been stood here 100 and something years, basically give that cabin new life. I never did count the rings, but I think I probably will before we're done. See if I can find 1977. It's usually the easiest year to find. Okay, right, I don't think we want to put anything else on that on the way home, maybe some thin stuff on top. All right, that's the last of the big ones, and that is going to conclude this video. Thank you all for watching, really appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.